You ready, Lisa? I'd like to welcome you to a special meeting of McLendon-Chisholm City Council. It's November 18th. The time is 7:30. I'll call the meeting to order. Councilmember Hodges, if you could give the invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the day. Lord, thank you for the opportunity to serve our community in this fashion. Please guide our decisions this evening as we make decisions, our discussions with long-term and short-term changes for our town. I'm thankful for these council members and all the work that they do for this community. Thank you for our state and local leaders. Thank you for their guidance and their wisdom during this challenging time. I lift up the first responders, police and fire departments, all of our country as they deal with challenges in today's world. And I thank you for the community. I thank you for the living. I thank you for the folks that are here this evening that want to take part in the decisions that will be made this evening. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. Please stand for the pledge. Councilmember Dahl.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Item number 3, rules of decorum. I please ask that everyone please adhere to the rules of decorum set before the council. Thank you. Citizen comments. If you are commenting on the sewer plan, please wait for item 5.1. Otherwise, do we have any other citizen comments? All right. Item 5.1. Citizen comments and possible council discussion regarding the State Highway 205 sanitary sewer line award of bid in the amount of $328,647 for the base bid, or $316,475.20 for the alternate bid. What I'd like to do is to hear from all the citizens, and then after that we will have the discussion as we have the expert from the Teague, Nolan, and Perkins, Mr. Atkins, here to ask any technical questions, and you can direct and we'll answer any of the questions you might bring forward to us on policy to the staff. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with Adrian Balcom, please.
Well, first off, thanks for having this meeting. I know that we had that discussion last week, and thanks for making it happen. Adrian Balcom, 1518 Forensic Court. Okay, so there are several things that need to happen. I would suggest to not award any bids at this time. This is a time to focus on what the citizens want. I'm sure many more development or something reasonably convenient. Making decisions to approve this construction line because you're not going to get a good bid is the least of your worries. Don't give in to the pressure. This type of impact affects the city financially that could be invested elsewhere when time can be spent to prepare a plan that the majority of people would be proud of. At no point has there been an announcement sent by mail or a way for people to be informed this is where we're headed. We would like your citizen input. This type of action is similar to what happened in 2015, where a small group of elected officials, along with Mike Coker and Deb Dufresne, pursued the City Hall building. Again, it's similar. I'm not saying it's exact. To begin the process, you need a qualified engineer and city planner, which means you will need to spend time requesting an RFP. The work that you think you're going to get with the rehires will be the same as it was in the past. That can't facilitate what we need. Both of these individuals were around with phase 1, road repairs, water lines, and many other structure related issues. We have more than enough reasons to not consider them in any future planning related. As we look around to our neighbors today, the city of Fate, they are taking steps to have an open house to discuss their comprehensive plan. They are spending time to prepare a citizen survey, and they're putting forth the effort to have citizens involved. What do we want the future of Fate to look like? What policy changes are needed to achieve the future vision? They have a timeline posted going through into 2021. The city of Heath, they also did something similar in the past. I'm not saying we should look like the city of Fate or Heath. It's just a common practice, and I believe it would be best to invest in this sort of planning instead of jumping into putting infrastructure down. There's no rush other than the developer pressuring you to do this. We don't have the population for another school construction at this time, so please make the right moves in looking towards planning in our future. Let's start with getting a new engineer and city planner. From there, we can move on to facilitate a citizen segment, gather public input, improve our comprehensive plan, and nail down what our future path will be for our city. Thank you.
Mark Kippett.
Mark Kippett, 31 Fireside. My comment here is to endorse the concept of putting a sewer line in place. We've been talking in the city now for the better part of 3 years for the need for commercial development. This is areas commercially zoned. It is where commercial development is designed to take place. It's essentially the center of the city. So delaying the sewer is not going to change the dynamic, other than if you want quality businesses, you have to have quality infrastructure. So businesses aren't going to operate off of septic systems. They want to have sewer systems, especially if that's going to bring in any kind of commercial, grocery, or restaurants. That's just a given fact. So the sewer itself, I think there's a lot of misperception in the community about the sewer, brought in originally by the developers of Sonoma Verde, but it had a broader concept at the beginning. It was not to service Sonoma Verde. That was a majority user. About 3/4 of the 1,500 taps were allocated to that area. But 25% was reserved for further development along FM 550 and also the commercial lines that would service that area. So there's no issue in terms relative to capacity. And if the school, we already know there's a school property on 550 that will require access to the sewer. It's going to require another lift station, which my understanding is Rockwell ISD will put that in. That's all future development, and it's well outside of the Sonoma Verde boundary. So delaying the decision, I don't see it benefiting the city by moving forward. The bid seems reasonable. I mean, I can't imagine a comprehensive bid that's going to be much lower than that for the same amount of infrastructure having been put in, having run hundreds of millions of dollars in programs for Raytheon. I just can't see it. So that's my viewpoint. And then the last point, I just want to welcome Councilmember Davis. Welcome to the council, and thank you for, congratulations on your election, and thank you for your service to the city. Thank you.
Bev Stibbons.
Good evening. Bev Stibbons, 279 Partridge Drive. I am here against the sewer line. I have not seen an economic development plan come out of this council. I have not seen a current downtown plan. There is one in place that has not been looked at in years. You are not ready for this. You have one developer that I know of, there could be more, that has come forward and asked for this. In the current economic state we are in with the pandemic and the quarantine, businesses are going under. They are not opening. Is this going out for bond? Are you going to put it in front of the people? What are the tap fees going to be? How long is it going to take you to get them back for the money that you are spending? I just don't feel this is a very wise use of your time or the funds right now.
because a very wise city planner told me years ago, if a business wants to come to McLendon-Chisholm, they will pay for the infrastructure. The city does not have to front that. If businesses want to come here, they can fund it. Thank you.
Val Bodar.
Val Bodart, 402 Cattle Barren Drive. As my 3-year-old granddaughter likes to say this week, what's the big idea? What is the big idea? Who says we need all this infrastructure right now? Like Bev said, we only have one developer in place at the moment. Do we need to fork out all this money in the hopes that someday when the economy is better that we're going to recoup it? Do we need to fork that out right now? Do we even have it? Have you looked at the budget that well? We don't have an updated comprehensive plan. We have an economic development committee. If you're not going to use them, if you're going to go ahead and start doing infrastructure, disband the economic development committee. You're wasting their time. Let them do their job. Let them do their work. If you want to go on ahead without them, let them do something else. Thank you.
Any other comments? Well, I'll move over to item 6.1, and that'll give us a chance to go ahead and respond to some of your comments and go forth with the action. So what I'd like to do is I'll start with the reading of the item, presentation, discussion, and action regarding SH205 sanitary sewer line award of bid to Double R Utilities in the amount of $328,647 for the base bid, or $316,475.20 for the alternate bid. So what we do also need to remember that if we do decide to award the bid, we have to also direct the city administrator to bring forth a budget amendment to fund the project with the appropriate funds. So I'll take a motion from the floor.
Representative, I will make a motion to approve the award bid and authorize the city administrator to enter into a contract with the chosen firm to bring forth a budget amendment to pay for the costs and establish a pro rata policy for adjacent property owners for reimbursement to the city at the time of development.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have some discussion on the item? I'd like to just go ahead and talk to Will about the whole Economic Development Committee comment. It seems to me that putting in the sewer would give oomph to the Economic Development Committee to reach out and build that business district with some backbone behind it.
Yeah, but the thing you got to keep in mind that I don't speak for the Economic Development
That's
Committee
true.
specifically. It's just my opinion because they haven't produced an exact opinion on the subject yet. One of the concerns that we have or that I have personally, is the Four Corners area. It's already zoned commercial. We already have commercial established there, and as it stands right now, one of the issues that we're having is with the septic system for the Sonic. It's really bad. I'm not saying it's completely for them. I'm just using it as a microcosm. Is just like Mr. Kippett said, any businesses that want to come in, they're not going to go on septic, and we won't want them to go on septic either.
It's dirty. Septic is dirty. Septic is it's not the way to go. I think if people had the choice, they would all have sewer.
Yeah, and like I said, I can't speak for the Economic Development Committee.
Right.
They haven't produced an opinion to give to me to bring to council. We do have a representative here. And do you have any questions for him?
from Mr., for those, does anybody have any questions in regard to the actual construction? One route over the other? Well, I think the motion on the floor is to go with the base bid. The one that, the route that goes along 205.
Yes. Go ahead. I'm here to answer any questions. Matt Atkins with Teagnall and Perkins, engineering firm that designed the project.
I mean, my bias in this is without Ford being in this community, there would be two, maybe three people that are sitting there right now that live there for years. So without people that take a certain wise investment risk, well-calculated risk in this community, then we're going to be taking steps backwards, in my opinion. I see this as a long-term investment for this community. It's not like we're going, I don't want to throw out a bad example, but in my opinion, this is a wise investment in this community, and that over time, we will get that money back with the tap fees. As other council members have already mentioned, it's more environmentally conscious. It's obviously a better use of land. You're not having to put aerobic systems behind commercial buildings. Frankly, that's not where this community needs to go. We already have one business that's doing that. We need to move away from that. If we want this community to be the kind of community we want to live in, I think that we've got to step it up as a community. Again, as folks have already mentioned, I think it's a enticement for business growth as well. Again, will they pay for it? Possibly, but this would be a huge incentive for businesses that may not otherwise consider coming to come to this community. Again, there's the tax aspect of it as well, the sales tax. If we get more businesses in this community, it may help to supplement our tax base as well.
My concern is where the commercial development is going to be between the green line and the yellow line. All these homes on the yellow line, if anybody has ever gone to sign on a really hot day, that's what your backyard's going to smell like. If we don't get a source. Period. End of discussion. If a business wants to come in, they will. You just are there. So I'm just saying, I'm concerned for the homes that will be there along those areas, that whole little area. And that's why I think we need the sewer system. And we don't need the sewer system on the yellow line, because if anything happens that breaks, we're gonna have that issue also. So push it to the green line, make that be it, do that, or literally. I mean, these businesses will come, it's commercial, that's what we're gonna do. So that's my opinion.
Sir, I'd like to ask you some questions that were addressed during the citizens' comments.
Yes, sir.
Adrian Balkin made the comment of question of the engineering. I was wondering if you could go into some details of the engineering designs for this project, please.
So the engineering design for this project, we tied on to the existing sewer line that's in Via Toscana that was extended up for during the master planning. I've looked at we looked at the sewer system and the lift station within Sonoma Verde. And that was, this commercial area is planned to be served by that system. And it's evidenced by the line that comes all the way up to almost 205 where we're tying into it. Additionally, the capacity of that system is such that it was designed for 1,500 taps, and the design for sewer flow is based on residential because you get your peaks. You have about a 3-hour peak in the morning, 3-hour peak in the evening. So that, for example, the average home produces about 240 gallons per day, and that's peak flows. A normal commercial business that's neighborhood service would produce about 12 gallons per day per fixture. So it's quite a bit less than what the residential is, and that's spread out during a different time. So when we're looking at mixing residential and commercial, the critical factor, the critical design for the size of the system is based on the residential units, and the commercial can slide in there. And it was designed to handle that in the area, the service area that was planned for this system. All of this area being commercial here along 205. With that, the line itself that we've designed here ties in there at the end of the line for Sonoma Verde, goes across Highway 205. We're going to bore under Highway 205. It does account for the future expansion of 205. So there will be a steel encasement pipe in case you ever need to work on the line. It's there. It's a requirement of TxDOT. And then it will turn north and head along the front of 205 in front of the commercial properties, as you would typically do in a commercial development, run all the way up to the intersection of 550 and then down 550 just a little bit. That will actually get it close, really close to the Sonic, and to the intersection there where the Sonic can then tie into that line pretty quickly and remove them from septic system as well. It would allow all the property there between the green and the yellow line to develop in commercial as it's zoned. You know, if it was to go industrial or something like that, that would obviously be an issue with the sewer capacity, but just keeping it as commercial, all the typical things that would go in that zoning are accounted for in the design of this system.
So with the vineyard on the other side, should we be able to tap into this as well?
Quite possibly.
And is there any, is this going to affect the level of flow, whatever term you use to describe it for the residents in Sonoma Verde?
No. So the system in Sonoma Verde is a dual pump system. It is designed kind of in a couple of stages. It is designed right now for the first part of the development of the residential stuff. And then the pumps will need to be replaced and upsized. And the reason for that is because there's TCEQ requirements, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, that governs the sewer systems, requires there to be minimum and maximum velocities in the sewer lines and in force mains, which the pumps pump it out to a force main. Once you get so many homes on there, then the flow will need different pumps to maintain those minimum maximum velocities, and those were all incorporated into the design of that system. And this commercial use will not affect that at all, or the timing of that, because essentially you have the peaks from the residential happen, from 6 to 9 in the morning, and from 6 to 9 in the evening when people are home and getting ready, taking showers each way. The commercial stuff all is very steady throughout the day in the non-peak times of the residential stuff. So the dual pump system is there, and so such that one pump can back up the other one. And it will, one will pump for, say, 20 minutes, the other one will pump for 20 minutes, and then they'll both be off for a period of time. And that's to provide some redundancy in it as well. And so that system is designed to handle this flow and quite a bit more.
At what point do you upgrade the pumps?
I don't remember and I don't recall, I didn't look at when that was, but I think when you get, I think this one was, when you get, starting to get into the second half of the development of the single-family homes. So. And the system itself was designed for 1,500 taps, 1,100 of those for Sonoma Verde, and then 400 are set aside for other uses. And then with the commercial coming in there.
Has anybody looked at the flow changes since COVID, since more people are at home? Any of their issues?
There's constant flow monitoring of that, and there has been some leveling out of the peaks, but it's still not as much as you would think.
Do the current pumps that are currently installed, do they have capacity for this, or would an additional upgraded pump have to be put in to handle the capacity of the commercial line?
So going back to just what I was talking about just a second ago, is that the commercial, adding commercial flow to it does not increase the demand or the design of the system, so the pumps that are there are sufficient for that. What drives the need for new pumps would be the additional residential units when they get there. So the critical path on lift station design is the residential. Residential is the driving factor of it. The commercial is not really a factor in that part. It's a factor in other parts of the design, but not the pumps and when those would be replaced. It would certainly have capacity to, and the ability to, from a depth physically wise, it's dealing with TxDOT getting across 205. But it should be possible. I just haven't explored that.
We were told previously that it was.
Okay.
Would anybody, so let's say, we'll use the vineyard as an example. Let's say the vineyard wants to tap into it.
Yes.
They would, obviously, it's going to have to go under 205. Would they have to put it in a steel casement as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So you would want to combine a couple of services or something to get across there, is the way, or do that one and plan for a couple others.
Of course, they'd have to be willing to pay for that.
Yes.
So,
I assume so. That's outside the engineering realm. Yes, it would need to come across there.
Seems like he was willing to do that.
When you're boring a service, it's much less than a main trunk line too, so it's a much smaller operation.
is the Sonic contributing already?
They're on the road right now. So they're
Septic.
They're septic, but I mean, are they contributing, are they wanting to contribute to be part of this?
Lisa can answer that.
Yes, I talked to the owner, and he is wanting to participate. Of course, cost is always a factor, and I don't have that number for him just yet. He'll have to take it from his establishment and take it under the road and connect, and I don't know what those costs are right now, so that would, that had to be determined, and he would have to decide to do that. Or we would have to establish a policy that actually required it, and I think at some point we would actually want to have a policy that required it either when the system failed, they would have to tie in, or within a period of time they would have to tie in. That's what most cities do. Usually within a 2-year period of time you have to tie in. That gives people adequate notice, or when your system fails, you're not allowed to upgrade, you have to tie in, one or the other.
And I know this is a technical thing, but businesses are already committed to paying for some of this as well, or this is
The developer that is, that owns this property on the front, he has indicated that he is more than willing to write a check immediately. Brookshire's who owns this piece, they're not willing to at the moment. They're just kind of waiting to see what rooftop numbers are, and if rooftop numbers get high enough, then they'll talk about it. The property owner that owns that long stretch, that one's just kind of up in the air at the moment. So they'll talk when they know numbers.
So, let me just summarize. The current system can handle it. The current sewer line is large enough to serve Sonoma Verde, the elementary school site, and the commercial district along 205.
And that's at complete build-out?
Yes, that's 1,100 Sonoma Verde homes. It also includes the other 400 taps, 65 of which are designated for RASD, and then 335 other taps, plus the commercial usage. So the system can handle it. They'll have to have a pump upgrade or whatever as the residential development goes along. Funding, as we've got in the, to summarize, as we have in the action item, is that the city would pay for it using our sales tax revenue that we've received this last year. And that would have to be brought up to us in a future budget item, next meeting, I presume. And the developers would pay their tap fee as they got into the system. Did I summarize that?
I got a couple.
Okay, go ahead.
Actually, the first one I got is for Lisa. So, as we know, Sonoma Verde right now pays for its infrastructure through the PID. And so we are going to be establishing a tap fee schedule that's going to completely cover this cost as people tap into it. So that way, as business tie into it, they'll be paying for their part of the infrastructure just how Sonoma Verde residents are currently paying for their PID.
It's a little different. So you take it completely separate from Sonoma Verde. So we would start where the line at Via Toscana all the way to the end, and I'd work with the engineers on what makes most sense, whether it's per acreage on the lots or whether it's per linear foot. And we would look to see what's most practical, and we would come up with a pro rata type of arrangement. So, and see what makes most sense as far as what we're going to charge people for those property owners to tie in. And then as those property owners develop their property, one property owner may have two businesses, and he could determine what he's going to charge those businesses as far as, and that's his business. All we care about is what we charge people for that line. We're also going to roll in the design fees as well. So what we've already paid the engineering firm, which was 55-ish, I think, right at 50, I think, for that. So we'll roll in all those costs for the construction, installation, anything associated with this line. We'll get the top number. We'll figure out what those pro rata costs, and that's what we'll charge back to the individual property owners. So if the developer on the corner is willing to pay now, we'll know what that cost is. We'll charge him as soon as he's ready to develop. We'll know what those other costs are, and when they're ready to go, we'll have that number for them, and they'll write that check as soon as they're ready to develop, and we'll recoup those costs.
Okay, so it is similar to a PID in the fact that each property owner is going to be paying for their version of the infrastructure, in which case the city paying for it now would be the equivalent of a bond. So we're paying for it initially, but it's going to be reimbursed as it gets built out.
Correct. The idea is the city would eventually be made whole, so we would not be out anything in the long run. So we put the money up front, and then we're paid back in whole at the end of it once the property is developed. I can't give you a definitive on when it's going to be developed, obviously, but the idea is ultimately it would be paid for by the property owners along the line.
Okay. I got a question for Mr. Holla. This is a hypothetical. So as Lisa was saying, let's say if we do produce an ordinance that requires commercial businesses to tie into it as they want to develop, do we have any legal obligation to sell those businesses taps? And what I mean by that is, we had a business that tried to come in a little while ago. It was a dollar store, and the public did not want it. So, for example, if one of those properties wanted to develop, and one of those businesses did want to come in, that our citizens did not want, do we have a legal obligation to sell that business a tap? Can we use it as can we use the tap as a way to get businesses in that we want, but also hold off businesses that we don't?
That's not a bad question, but it's going to be the same, legally, it's going to be looked at the same thing as zoning. You can't use your zoning to keep in some businesses and keep in out. Now, the main thing is you got to be consistent. So if there are certain businesses that may not be, looked upon as typically, it's all hypothetical. So none of this has actually happened, ever would, it's all hypothetical. But some of those businesses look and they don't fit certain parameters. Same thing with zoning. You can say no, as long as every single time any business, even if it was quote unquote desirable, hypothetically, fit those parameters, you would still have to say no. So this is not really any different legally from, say, the zoning or anything like that. Whatever you want to set up, you can do it. It's all about, legally speaking, put it very simply, it is as applied. As long as you apply it consistently the same way every time, you're going to be okay.
We would probably work with the engineer and see what's practical as far as whether it's 750 feet or 1,000 feet of the end of the line, and create an ordinance, work with the attorney and create an ordinance. If anybody's retail-wise is within that certain number of feet, they would have to tie in.
And I think the health and safety implications are significant enough that you would want an ordinance that would require business to be not on septic but on sewer.
Yeah, that's very typical, that if you have sewer available, that it's required that they tie into it if somebody develops that piece of property.
It's also one reason why state law allows you, pretty much everything is a $100 to $500 fine, except for certain, like fire, health and safety, which would this be, zoning, health and safety, your police powers in the local 5101 of Oklahoma Code. It's a very significant health risk to people that have septic blow up at a restaurant or something like that. That is why you're able to charge up to $2,000 for those types of violations, because they're much more serious and severe. So it would be a good idea to have, before people start coming in, have the ordinance in place.
Lisa, can you just reassure me, because I for some reason felt that everybody on I guess it's the east side of 205 and across from Sonic, were all going to be able to tap in. Didn't we hear that, or am I just, somebody said they should? I don't want the word should.
On the east side?
Just on the other side of 205 where we're going to put the septic. I just want to make sure that those businesses will be able to tap in, and across from Sonic, I'm just kind of confused.
Well, your engineer is here, but when I talked to Chris, I think all things are possible depending on the depth, and, you have to bore under 205 to get there.
Yes.
But as far as capacity-wise, that line should be able to handle it. If that's what you're asking. Now, the cost
Yep.
may vary considerably from one lot to another,
Right.
and they would have to bear those costs of getting it there. But I think we would still require it if it's a retail establishment.
I just want to be reassured that those tap fees will be coming in. That they're not just, well, we thought you could.
Well,
but-
the ones that are going to pay for the line are the ones on this side right here. If anybody's going to pay for tapping into it, they're going to bear the cost of whatever it costs to bring it across. Does that make sense?
So that would be extra.
They're going to incur the cost if they tap into it from across. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so in other words, how many taps would it take? I mean, we don't know the price, right?
We'll
Just to
determine the
get
fee
reimbursed
based.
on it.
Right now, there are three, so this property, and this property, maybe four, this property, and bear those costs for this line. And then anyone coming that wants to tie in otherwise, they're gonna pay whatever cost to bring it to the line that's existing. So if they have to go under 205 and connect, whatever it costs is what they pay to get there.
And we establish that
Fee.
fee, correct?
Well, they would have to work with their own person and figure out what those costs are at the time that they're doing it. So it may, if they might not do it for 5 years.
So they would have their construction costs as well as the tap fee for purchasing the tap from us.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, there would be a construction cost for them plus a tap fee.
Plus the tap fee.
And of course, they pay a usage, a regular monthly fee, a usage fee that would be established. We'd have to establish a commercial rate.
Can we make sure they use the same people that do the taps, I mean, that come across, so it's not, they're not getting the cheapest price and something goes
Consistent.
wonky? Yeah. I mean, is there any way we could say you've got to kind of use this? No?
I don't, as far as construction,
Yeah, I mean, like if
I don't
Sonic
think I can
decides to
require
use
them to do that.
ABC, and then the people over there want to use somebody else, and they're much cheaper because there's a reason why they're much cheaper, and then we end up having all kinds of issues because of that.
well, I think at that point, it wouldn't be a city project, so I don't think I could require them to do that. Now,
Any issue would be on them if there's a problem.
right, now, our engineer would handle supervising, any connection to our line.
Yeah, they have to, I mean, we'll have the regulations set up that they'll have to meet at least at the connection point.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions?
I guess who pays for the maintenance in the meantime until somebody's established? Or if there's maintenance on it, if something goes wrong, problem.
It would be a city line, so the city would have the maintenance costs. Now, usage fees, as far as what everyone pays per month, even in Sonoma Verde, part of the usage fees pays for treatment, and a portion pays for maintenance. It gets set aside for maintenance.
I just meant until there's property owners in there or until there's somebody established. I guess
well, we'll still always pay for the line. Yeah, we'll, yeah.
It's a city-owned line.
But only up to the connection point. There we can, yeah.
And last time you came before us, you said that this vendor has a 2-year warranty on their
Yes.
infrastructure.
Yes.
So they have.
That's part of the
2 years,
standard,
Then they carry it.
that's part of the standard bid contract for public works projects.
Actually, the fact they gave a 2-year warranty is really pretty good. People have been backing off that for a few years. It's usually a 1-year warranty. So that's, honestly, that's a good deal for a 2-year warranty.
You ready for a vote? All right, start with you, Brian. Yay or yes or no? Well, if you have questions, please.
In my head, I mean, I'm
If you
just
have
kinda
questions, you need to
swirling, but-
ask them.
This is the time to ask it.
Yeah, you need to ask them.
Well, I guess the only other thought that I have is I've just seen some questions from the Sonoma Verde, forcing them from Infomart to clean pumps and have other maintenance issues, things like that there. So I didn't know where that was, and if that's all been cleaned up or.
Lisa can answer that.
I actually spoke to Infomark today, and I know this past summer they approached us because they did need some pump repair, and I talked to them today about the status of that, and everything is in good working order and has been repaired at this time. We get monthly maintenance reports from them, so their fee per month includes just kind of routine maintenance. But when they need something that's larger than that, then they come to us like they did this past year, and then they tell us that they anticipate there's going to be a need for a larger repair that's kind of out of the scope of what their routine costs are, their normal maintenance costs. and they'll make a request, like they did this past year. Or if something breaks and it's, kind of out of the ordinary, unexpected, then they'll approach us and they'll make a request for funds. But at this time, everything is working.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's the only question I have.
Does this amount include the pump upgrade?
Yes.
It does.
It's been done. It's been done. The only thing that's not been done right now is they're waiting on a load of rock to go down on the road again. I think they needed one more load of rock to make the road go into the lift station a little bit better. But other than that, the pump itself, they're all working.
Any other questions?
The new monitoring system is also in place.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of infrastructure that we want. I think having the right businesses in the place is very important for us. I don't like that we can't, because it's going to take some additional funds to get pipes across, I guess, to Sonic or the winery or across the street, so. And we have no guarantees that any other companies are coming in, so I don't think it's the best decision. I would say no at the moment.
Okay.
But
Will?
Yay.
I vote yes.
Yes.
So that vote is 4-1.
all right.
All right. Adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned at 8:17.
Mr. Russo, can I see you for a minute? Thank you, Matt. Talk to you tomorrow, the next day, or
I just want to make sure that your question got answered, that's all.
I'll have to get some help on garage. Because I was thinking linear foot, and that kind of maybe it does make more sense since it's going to be right there on 205. When it was back off 205, and I was thinking maybe the square footage maybe made more sense, but I'll talk to Dave about it. Okay. And then the one light, this one. I'm not sure if we talked about that one. That was not, that was actually ag.
Well, we actually, when we did the engineering for this, we actually went with a different engineering firm to actually run the infrastructure, do all the engineering, do all the topographicals and everything. So Mike Coker, he was involved in the aspect of, he was there but we actually went out with a third party to actually get that specific engineering done. So we wanted a company that specializes on that to produce that engineering.
Okay, yeah, just kind of come up with a plan.